Welcome to this week's episode of Bridge to Faith. I'm your host, Yusuf Estes, and for the next few minutes we're going to be talking about faith, what it is, how you can get it, and how it applies to today's world. What is faith anyway? And if you've watched our programs in the past, you've heard us talk about faith, but I wonder if we've really thought about the details of faith and what it is and how we get it. To have true faith, a person would have to have knowledge. Because without knowledge, it wouldn't be faith. Not really. It'd just be maybe dreams, wild ideas. But there has to be some kind of knowledge to begin with. A knowledge of what it is that we're talking about that we're going to have faith in. So there's the base knowledge. Then there has to be some testable evidence for what we're talking about before we ask ourselves to believe in the things that we can't actually see. There are some things in this life we don't see, but we have faith that they exist. There are things that are called microorganisms. You don't see those, not without a microscope. And there are things that we don't hear as well. A lot of sounds that we don't hear. Beyond our range, the realm of the human hearing. Animals can hear them, but we don't hear it. And then there are sounds that go beyond the animal's range to hear as well. What about those? But how would we have any faith in any of it if we had no knowledge? So there has to be a base knowledge. And then there has to be some way to test those suppositions that we have so that they're not just some kind of wild notions that somebody came up with, some kind of a dream or a hallucination. There should be some testable evidence to the faith. So therefore, to have what we're going to call true faith, a person is bound and obligated to have a certain amount of knowledge of what they're talking about before they go any further. And then after this knowledge, the next thing that they should have is a way of testing to verify what their supposition is based on. So, almost like a scientist of religion, you would be testing what you believe with things that you can verify. Once you're able to verify a particular notion, then you can move to the next thing. But without any kind of testable evidence, with no proof at all, this is not really true faith. And this is often what happens when people have man-made suppositions or religions that they come up with. Then when somebody wants to test that and base it on other things that we know and it doesn't work, the people lose faith in it. But just because we lost faith in what a person says shouldn't make us lose faith altogether. And we should continue looking and using what we do know to be true. When we look to the creation around us, when we look to these mighty trees that we see here in the forest, we're in Germany, by the way, if you didn't know that, we know that these came about somehow. Human beings didn't put all this together, did they? No, not hardly. What we see here, all of this, is evidence that there must be a creator, because this is the creation itself. Now, what human beings do to the creation is a whole nother matter. For instance, we could take, well, here right behind me, you can take a look right here. See the logs here? Human beings altered those trees and changed them to look like this. Right? Yeah. And now, even though that is creation, but now it's an altered creation. And in the same way, if a human being takes true belief, true faith, and then alters it, then it's not really the original anymore. No, what we need to be responsible for is to know the difference between what is real, what's altered, and then what's totally fabricated altogether. If somebody told you, for instance, that all of this forest came out of nothing, that God made it, you could believe that. Why? Well, because there has to be some place that all of this came from, no doubt. But if somebody shows you a house that's just sitting there, and they say that that house made itself, you're not going to buy that, are you? This is where you have to really start thinking. Now, we put a website together for you so that you can do some thinking with scientific evidence along the way. It's called ScienceIslam.com. That's ScienceIslam.com. When you go to the website there, you'll be able to find testable evidence, things that you can prove, things that you can think about, and realize that, you know what? There is evidence for my faith. By the way, you know that I once was preaching, trying to call a Muslim to go to my religion. And when I was talking to him, he said, I'll go to your religion if your religion's better than mine. And I was thinking, hey, I got this guy. This is going to be really easy. This will be so easy. Why? Well, because my religion didn't require a man to pray 5 times a day. He doesn't have to fast for 30 days straight in a row. He also doesn't have to go for a place called Hajj, go out in the desert somewhere. He doesn't have to do any of those things. It's a very easy religion. But then the man said, I'll go to your religion if. I said, what's the if? He said, if you've got proof. I said, proof? Hey, man, religion is not about proof. Religion's about faith. He said, in our religion, we have both. I said, what? Do you mean to sit there and tell me, as a Muslim, you can prove there's God? And he said to me, do you mean to sit there and tell me as a preacher that you can't? Uh-oh. Hey, that's a point, isn't it? So what is the proof for what people are telling me? Well, if I don't have any proof, it's kind of hard to have any faith. I can take some things for granted, but I can't take it all for granted. I need to have some basic knowledge, some basic understanding that I can test, that I can look into and say, you know what? This increases my iman. It increases my faith because I have testable evidence for what I'm saying. And then that'll help me. All of that'll help put it together for me. That's pretty much what we're talking about when we talk about iman or faith. It's not a matter of just believing everything somebody tells you, but when you find enough testable evidence, then you can rely on that source to give you other information that you can have faith in. That's a thought anyway for today. Another thing we could do, by the way, we could pray about this. Because if there's a God, if there's really a creator, if there's really something or someone that made me, made all of this, then it would be up to him really to communicate with us. And he should know, if he knows everything, he should know what's inside of me. Even I don't know what's inside of him. So it means, yeah, if I really have faith, I'll test it by going deep inside of myself. Nobody else will know but me. And I'll just think. I'll just think it. Oh God, oh being, whatever or whoever you are. If you're real, you know what I'm thinking. And I'm asking you to guide me to the real faith. Guide me to believe rightly. Show me something, give me some proof, or do something so that I'm going to be rightly guided if there is any such thing as guidance. Yeah, that's it. I'll use that. Oh God, if you're there, if you hear me, then guide me. Guide me. We're ready now to go to the portion of our program we call Arabic and English. We're going to be using the English to learn Arabic. And while we're doing that, by the way, make a note of our website for Arabic and English. It's called ArabicandEnglish.com. Let's get started right now. I want to show you how easy it really is to have fun with the Arabic language. The first letter we're going to talk about is the letter called Alif. Alif is a pretty simple letter because all it is a straight stick. Just make a big straight stick like that and say Alif. Like Alif, Alif, Alif. And it has the sound of it has the sound of and it has the sound of u, and sometimes it doesn't have any sound at all. We're going to be talking about that later, but for right now, that's your first letter, and that wasn't too hard, a straight line. Alif. Don't you feel educated now? The next letter we want to talk about is a little bit different. In fact, it comes in a series of letters, and so what we're going to do is draw the tops of the waves of the ocean on here. Watch this. You see that? All right. That looks kind of like an ocean. You see that? Now, this is not the traditional way they teach you the Arabic language, but it's a lot of fun to watch what's going to happen. I want to ask you a question. When you see the sun at this time of the day, straight up over your head, it must be noontime, isn't that right? So if it's noontime, then that means it's straight up over one of the points over here. So when you see the points here, the ocean, and you see a dot over it like that, that's noon. Now when the letter's by itself, it looks like this, noon. But when it's in a line, it'll be right underneath one of the points like that. Can you say noon? Noon. It makes the sound of na. All right. Now, the next one is kind of fun too. We're going to put a dot below the ocean, right underneath one of the points, one under the wave right here. And whenever it's right underneath the wave like that, it's below. So say ba, below, ba, below, ba. So make the sound of B right there, ba. And then we're going to make the sound of na, right here. That's noon and ba. Get it? Was that easy? You already know 2 letters. 2 letters. As a matter of fact, talking about 2, I'm going to put 2 dots right there over the top of this point. You see that point right there? That's another one. All right, now I put 2 dots. Now you'll never guess what the sound this is going to make. Ta. Say 2. Ta. Well, this is ta. So make the sound of ta right there. Ta. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more there and make it na and ba and ta. Isn't that fun? Watch this. Well, we're on a roll. I'm going to put 3 dots right over this one right here. Look at that. 3. Say 3. Now say th. Th. That's right, because guess what? That is the name of that letter right there. That is called th. Th. Say th. All right, now we've got a ba, we've got a ta, we got a na, we got a tha. Ta, ba, na, tha. Tabanatha. I don't know what's tabanatha, but we got it right there. Look at that. Now, ordinarily, they will tell you in the Arabic language you have to learn that the letters are like this. And when it has this below it, it's a B. A ba, actually. And then when you have 2 dots above it, it's a ta. And then when you have 3 dots above it, that's going to be a tha. And if you have only 1 dot, then that's going to be na. But, you know, that's not a whole lot of fun to do it that way. That's why we devised this little thing with the ocean. The other thing they'll talk to you about is whenever a letter starts a word, or is in the middle of the word, or ends a word. Now, what happens when there's a word, for instance, like this. Now, you say, well, that's not a word. Well, wait till you find out what we're going to do next. There's one more letter I want to show you so we can make a word. And I'm going to put 2 dots right below the line. Well, it's not a ba because we already have that. And it's not a ta because we've already got that. This is a special one. It's the only one where you're going to have to use your brain a little bit. Just remember, ya. Now, if 2 of your things fell overboard and went in the water and you went, ya, well, that's ya. Ya, right there. Ya. Ya? Ya, ya, ya. Okay, so that's it. Now you got all the dot family here. These are the dots that go over the waves or under the waves. Under and over the waves go the dots. Got that? This is ya. Now let's make a word out of this. What I'd like to do is change that a little bit. I'm going to put a ba right there. Ba. Ya. Ta. Ba. Ya, ta. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about those lines later, but for right now, this spells a word. Do you know what that word is? This is house. You say, wait a minute, how does ba, ya, ta? That doesn't spell house. It does in Arabic, because the word in Arabic for house is bait. Bait. Because the ya sound in Arabic is just like the y sound in English. Watch this. I'm going to show you something. If I put a B, and then I put a, and then I put a y, and then I put a t, what do I have? Is that bait? And that's what it says in Arabic. This says ba, and that means be quiet. Like this. Now we come to the portion of our program where we learn about somebody's particular bridge to faith. How did they come to faith? And let's find out. Let's ask them right now.
My name is Pierre Vogel in the passport, also called Abu Hamza or Salahuddin. I was born in 1978. When I was very young, I had always friends from Muslim countries, like from Morocco or from Turkey. And I had always contact with them, but unfortunately they were not practicing too much. But I had always sympathy with these people because they were my friends. Later on, I was a Protestant, but I went to a Catholic school, and this Catholic school, it's quite strict. For example, in my time when I was there, it was not allowed for women to go to, or for girls to go to the school. The boys are alone in the school, and so I learned a bit about Christianity. And when I was 14 years old, as a Protestant, I went to church and had some discussions because I was always interested in Christianity and in the existence of God and these things. And then I was discussing with a Christian priest or preacher, with a Christian preacher, and about some things they seemed to me like contradictions in the Bible. And he admitted that there are contradictions in the Bible. And so when I was 14 years old, I lost the faith in this religion. And later on I became like an atheist, or also agnostic. I didn't know really, is there a God, is there not a God? I was in great doubt if there is a God, a creator, because I thought for myself, if there is a creator, we have to have a perfect message from him. He has to create us for a reason, for a purpose. And if there is no book that is correct in totality from the beginning to the end, so it's a sign that there's no creator, because how come the creator creates us and he does not tell us what to do? So I thought, yeah, I live for this life, and you have to have party and all these things. And then later on, when I was around 20 years old, 21 years old, I went to a civilian service. In Germany, you have to choose after school, the men have to choose between a military service or civilian service. And in this civilian service, I went to the Red Cross organization, and I helped old people. I bring them always the food, and when I bring them the food, I saw that these people are living very lonely. And in Germany, all 47 minutes there's a suicide in Germany. This is the official number. And a lot of these old people, you come to them, and every day you go to their houses and you give them something to eat, and they say, no, stay a bit, we want to talk to you, and we're so lonely. So I was thinking about the purpose of life, and every week, or not every week, but a lot of them died in this time. So I was thinking about the hereafter. I was thinking about the purpose of life, and I began to read about religions. First, I wanted to know about Buddhism, because the image of Buddhism is very nice in Germany. The Dalai Lama, he has a smile for everybody and so on. And so I read about it, but for me, it gave not, in my own impression, it gave not too much sense. I even loved Christianity more than this, because I don't really care about the God or creator or a higher being. Then in this civilian service, we had to go for 1 week to a special camp. And in this camp, I met a guy from a German party, German political Christian party, not the big Christian party, but a small one. And this guy was talking about Islam, was talking very bad about Islam, and that he's in a Christian party. And I asked him, what is your aim in your party? So he told me, our aim is to destroy Islam in Germany. To destroy Islam in Germany. Islam is a bad religion, they cut off the hand, and the women are all oppressed, and they build mosques here, and there is an adhan, and it's not from the German culture. Yeah, silly reasons actually. And I tried to defend Islam, Because a week before, I think almost a week before, I went to the streets in Germany and somebody gave me a paper, a Muslim, inviting to Islam. And there were some points that I liked at the very beginning. Like that he told us in this paper that the Islam says that it's not a new religion, but it's a religion of Adam, and that all the prophets came with the same religion, to submit, to surrender to Almighty God in sincerity. And this is something I liked. I said, subhanallah. I didn't say subhanallah, but I thought this makes sense. It makes sense, you know, because how come there is one God and there are so many religions, but the Islam gives an explanation. Allah says in Surah Al-Nahl, chapter 16, verse 36, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يُعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. We gave to ever, like in the translation, almost translation, we gave to every nation a messenger that he teaches the people that they worship only the one God, Allah, the Almighty God, and that they don't worship the false gods, the Taghut. And then the Islam gave this paper gave also the reason why there are so many religions. That actually the messengers came with the same message, but the people changed it. After this meeting with this guy, I was interested. He was talking very bad about Islam. Now I was really interested. As I told you, I defended Islam with my small knowledge, and why? Because I had some Muslim friends, but I didn't really know anything. So I thought I have to read about Islam now. I want to know what it is, just to talk with my Muslim friends when they do something bad, because I thought the Quran is, I think the Quran is a good book. From the beginning I didn't know, but I thought it has to be a good book. So I thought, maybe look, all my friends, they're doing fornication and this stuff, the Muslim friends, and are far away from the religion. So I also thought maybe I can tell them, look in your book, this is not allowed. And this was also a reason, but the first reason was because I wanted to know what is in this book. I was curious. So when I came back from this camp, from this youth camp, from civilian service, my sister, she had a translation of the Quran. Yeah, not translation, but translation of the meanings of the Quran in German language. And I thought, I thought, fine, so I will read the book now. So I took this book and I read it from the beginning to the end. And everywhere, and all the things I didn't understand, I put a big question mark on it. Yeah, what is this? What is that? I never had such a God consciousness like after reading this book. And I never saw a book, I never saw God described with these perfect attributes like in the Quran. And later on, there was one guy from America. He came always to our boxing camp to make sparring there. His name is Khalid Jones. He was also a world champion in a smaller, in super middleweight, in a smaller division, smaller, not in one of the four big councils, IBF, WA, WC and WO, but in the smaller one. But he came to me and he was also Muslim, and he gave me a Quran in English also from Muhsin Khan, and he gave me a paper how to learn the prayer. So I saw the prayer, this is a good thing. I haven't accepted Islam yet, but I thought, okay, I begin to pray, why not? And I learned to pray Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Asr, Surah Al-Ikhlas, At-Tahiyyatu Lillahi, Salawatul Ibrahimiyya, Salatul Ibrahimiyya, Salatu Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. All these things I learned it, and then I began to pray. It was on one day, a friend of mine, he was Olympic boxer, and his name is Genghis Koch. He always went with this Khalid Jones to the mosque on Friday. And on this particular day, he was not able to go with him to the mosque for Salatul Jumu'ah, for the Friday prayer. And then he asked me to go with Khalid Jones to the prayer. He told me, please go with him, help him. You know, I can't go today. So I said, okay, my responsibility, I have to go. So I went with him to the mosque, and we entered the mosque. I was quite nervous because it seems strange to you. You have always this impression in your mind, all these terrorists, and you go to the mosque. What will they say? Maybe they say, hey, what are you doing here? You're not a Muslim, you're filthy or something. You think like this as a non-Muslim. You have always these prejudices. So I went into the mosque and I prayed Rak'atayn, Tahiyat al-Masjid. Because he prayed, so I knew how to pray, I prayed. And then later on we sat there and making this tasbih, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. I also knew this. And then there came a Moroccan Muslim, older man. He came to me and he asked me, like, are you the only Muslim in your family? And I was thinking, because are you the only Muslim? And I didn't accept Islam until this time. So I was thinking, what will I say now? Are you the only Muslim? And then at this time, the shaitan got beaten up. Because he went away in the mosque. Because before, the shaitan always said, no, wait a bit, wait. You have to look, you have more to read. I was convinced that Islam is the absolute truth. But the problem was, in the Quran, there is like a verse that it said, if somebody goes away, apostates, he goes away from belief, he gets a real big punishment in the hereafter, like this, you know. And at this time, I was afraid that if I become a Muslim, I go away from Islam, maybe Allah will punish me. So I didn't accept Islam because I was actually believing in Islam. So at this time, I was thinking, are you the only Muslim? And I said to him, yes, I'm the only Muslim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And then I became Muslim. I prayed a Friday prayer, and from this day I began to pray. And that's my way to Islam.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Bridge to Faith. Remember our website, bridgetofaith.com. Until next time, peace. Salam alaikum.